Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Klink. You may know my evil twin, entrepreneur Bobby Klink. I'm lawyer Bobby, and entrepreneur Bobby asked me to come here today to make a very important case for you, to explain something and set out the reasons why you need to attend his virtual event. And this seems like a job for an attorney, if there ever was one, because it's about presenting a case. And I have to say that I have presented a number of cases in my 2 decades as an attorney, and there is not one that I was more confident in presenting in the one I'm going to present today. Today, I'm going to present a very simple case. My case for why BADA Online Marketing Live is the virtual event that every online entrepreneur should attend. Now, if entrepreneur Bobby were here, he would likely get very animated. He might jump up and down, and he might say some things that aren't quite appropriate. That's not how I operate. I'm going to keep it strictly above board and present this like any other case. So, without further ado, let me present my case for why BADA Online Marketing Live is the one virtual event that every online entrepreneur should attend in 2020. It begins with this. I'm going to explain to you how I'm going to make my case so you know exactly what to expect, because I don't want you to be surprised. I want you to have an overview, a bit of a signpost so you know where we'll be going. First, I'll be presenting to you that it's more than just an event. Second, we'll be talking about how the event itself will wow you. Third, we'll talk about the pre-event coaching and how important that is. And finally, I'll be explaining to you how the post-event implementation work will help you actually make progress. So, that's a quick overview. Let's dive in. First, BADA Online Marketing Live is more than an event. It is an experience. It's an experience that has multiple components, that has multiple things happening, and that will affect every piece of what you do between now and the end of the year. So let's talk about what the overall event experience will be. It includes 3 phases: prepare, attend, and implement. And each one of these phases is important, and you need to know what each one of these phases is. The prepare phase is what you'll be doing with entrepreneur Bobby, who is a lot more fun than stuffy lawyer Bobby. But what you're going to be doing with him is spending November actually getting ready for the event. Then you'll attend the event in December, get a ton of information, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then you'll implement with him, because implementation is ultimately what matters. Simply getting information, simply preparing won't do you much good. Again, as I present the case of why BADA Online Marketing Live is the one event that you should attend this year, I ask you a simple question. Are there any other entrepreneurial events you know of that include prepare, attend, and implement? No. They're events. You show up, you have the attend, and that's about it. So that's the first reason why this is going to be a much better event than any other. It's an experience, not an event. But let's move to the second piece here. Let's talk about the event itself, because we have to be honest that the event is the main event. It's the entree, if you will, of your dinner. And we have to be honest here and talk about something. Most virtual events suck. Sorry, I'm going to be a little bit nicer than entrepreneur Bobby would be here, but we have to be honest about what actually happens at these events. Most online events, most virtual events are fluff fests. What's happened is online entrepreneurs were hit with COVID and they said, well, we're just going to take our live event and put it online on a Zoomzilla. And by Zoomzilla, I mean they simply paste together some Zoom rooms and, create this experience for you, or so they say. But the problem is they have not attempted to actually correct and change and deal with the fact that this is actually something different than a live event. There's no energy. There's no music. It's not the same. And what they give you are events that have no actionable information, that are meant to give you a rah-rah, get you motivated, but you don't need that. But they're also events that often are nothing but more than pitch fests from a series of guest speakers. And the events themselves are not very inclusive. And as a lawyer, I have to say, that makes me very concerned. They expect you at home to simply say, I will clear my schedule from 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. and that you won't tell me anything about what will be happening, and I will simply ignore everything that's happening around me. Well, we all know that's not actually possible. So that's a typical event. Now let's talk about what Badass Online Marketing Live will be, so you have a sense about why this is just a little bit different. First, we need to lay out what are the elements you need to understand about the event itself. Number one, you will get actionable training. Number two, you will hear from amazing guest speakers. Number three, you will have networking galore. And number four, you will have transparency. And we're going to dive into each one of these in turn because they are very important for you to understand why it is that this event is so much different. First, let's talk about the training. There will be 3 full days of training. First of all, on day 1, you will hear about Badass You. Now, I don't like Entrepreneur Bobby's language here, but I have to use it because he's my client. What he tells me is that this is going to be a day that is full of helping you to become the entrepreneur and the marketer that you are meant to be. It will be a day filled with helping you understand the kind of business you should be building for yourself. It will help you to understand how to create a business around your personality, around your strengths, but also how to establish yourself as a thought leader. Now, I like the sound of that. Thought leader sounds pretty good to me as a lawyer because we like those highfalutin terms. So that's what Bobby tells me that day 1 will be about. Now let's talk about day 2. Day 2, he is calling Badass Business Model. And again, I don't like his language. He explains to me that in the online entrepreneur space, many people have this idea that they ought to build a business around a single product, which they don't actually sell except for a couple of times a year. It baffles me. As an attorney, I would never try such a thing. And so I'm going to explain what he has explained to me is that he is going to bring a bit of kind of common sense and help you to stop the insanity. I think it's a good idea that he's going to do that because from what he told me about the way the industry that you are in is actually set up, it is insanity. So that will be day 2. And then day 3, he tells me is badass scaling. Again, I don't like the word, but he explains to me that a lot of entrepreneurs in your space are stuck in this notion that they have to do everything for themselves and that they can build a business without spending any money. And again, as an attorney, this baffles me. I understand that you need a team. I wouldn't be able to present my cases without a team. And I also know that it takes money to build a business. And so I'm glad that Bobby, the entrepreneur one, will be teaching you that. So that's the training. And Bobby also explains to me that he needed me to explain this very important chart to you. Because it's a chart that he says explains and hopefully will get the other people who don't quite get all these things to understand what it is that he's going to be teaching you at the event. He says this is a breakdown of his revenue of one of his most important products. And as I understand it, I have to be honest, as a lawyer, I don't get what a funnel is exactly. But he tells me that that is the kind of thing that most online entrepreneurs rely on exclusively. He tells me that for some reason in the online space, people assume that you only ask people, you only talk to people and market to them when you're asking them to do something right away. Again, this makes no sense to me. As a lawyer, I know that there's this expression that is famous in the industry that says, no one got fired for hiring Skadden. Well, Skadden is one of the big law firms out there. And the reality is that big companies hire these big law firms without the big law firms ever having to do any real work to say, hey, come hire us. You see, because firms like Skadden have a reputation. They've done the work to build their brand. And Bobby tells me that in the online marketing space, people are saying you shouldn't do that. You should only focus on spending money on getting people to immediately buy or immediately do something. And he wanted me to explain to you that that's not how his business works. And that this orange color is the revenue he brings in that has nothing to do with the traditional method. And he wants you to understand that he'll be teaching you that you could do this too. So that you could triple your revenue by adding this additional method into your business. Seems like something I would want to learn if I were in your space. So that's what he wanted me to tell you about what the central concept he's going to try to get across to you is. So that's the training. Now let's talk about the guest speakers. And Bobby also told me that many people at these events they create, which they have people buy a ticket for, and then people come to these events, and their guest speakers at these events are simply pitching these people to buy more. That seemed quite odd to me. It seems to me that if I'm buying a ticket to an event, the guest speakers ought to provide value, not simply try to get me to buy their stuff. And Bobby, entrepreneur Bobby, assures me that he's with me on this and that he is going to have guest speakers who have actually impacted his business and who will be providing value, not simply trying to sell. First, he tells me that his friend Anna Nelson, who is a Gallup certified strengths finder or strengths coach, who actually has coached entrepreneur Bobby and his team on their strengths and how to build the business around them, will be giving a talk to help the people at the event to get that same wisdom. That sounds pretty useful to me. Next up, he has his friend Mel Abraham, who's going to be teaching about how to become a thought leader. Now, again, you know, as a lawyer, I love the sound of being a thought leader. Now, I understand from entrepreneur Bobby that Mel is going to be talking about something called frameworks, a way to explain what it is that you're teaching and put it in a very understandable method. And it's the kind of thing that, again, sounds pretty good to me. Kind of like putting a framework around a legal argument. So, you know, it's something I kind of like the sound of. After Mel Abraham, he'll have Arfan Hussein, who runs his Facebook ads. Now, I don't understand Facebook ads as a lawyer because I don't really understand Facebook at all. But Bobby tells me that Facebook ads are the way that most people in the space bring in a lot of their sales. So it seems like having the person who runs his ads come in and teach you how to run some ads would be immensely valuable. I don't know. Sounds pretty good to me. And finally, he tells me that this fella named James Wedmore, who is his coach, is going to be speaking about building teams and scaling and actually making your business not something that's just about you. We already talked about why I think it's a good idea for you to learn that general concept. So I'm thinking learning from this James guy is going to be valuable. I don't know who he is, but I'm assuming that he probably has something valuable to say. So those are your amazing guest speakers. So that's the second piece of what's going to make the event itself so valuable. Now let's go to the third piece of what will make the event so valuable. There will be networking galore. Now, me as a lawyer, I know that schmoozing people is pretty darn important and connections matter. And Bobby explains to me, and this makes sense to me, that at traditional live events for entrepreneurs, that's a big part of why people go. They meet people, they can make friends, they can build relationships that can be hugely powerful. But he explained to me that when these other entrepreneurs started making their events virtual this year, they didn't think about that. And they didn't really create real ways for people to network because he said they use something called Zoomzilla, which is basically a way that everyone is just sitting on these screens. And the only networking, he said, that happens is that people randomly get thrown into rooms very quickly to do some work and then get taken out. That doesn't sound like networking to me. So Bobby explained to me that he and his team have chosen a platform that is costing him more money because it's built for virtual events. It's built for networking. And he told me that there are 4 different ways that you'll be able to network at this event. First of all, there will be random matching. Now, this kind of makes me nervous. I don't like meeting people randomly, but Bobby tells me that it's an important part of live events. He said it's like the people you meet in the hallway, the chance for a quick encounter. Maybe it's a way to find out whether you want to connect with them deeper. So maybe it's not a horrible idea after all. He says there's also going to be a way to make direct connections where you can literally make a friend with someone and request the opportunity to actually get on a video call with them. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. Kind of like some real networking there. But that's not it. He says there's also going to be networking tables where people can go during breaks, at lunch, to talk about what they're taking away from the event, to help each other, to do all of that work. And last but not least, he says your breakout rooms aren't going to be random. Instead, you'll be with the same people the entire event, and it will be people who will actually have similar interests to you, similar businesses, who maybe, just maybe, can actually help you on your journey. I don't know about you, but that sounds a heck of a lot better than a random Zoomzilla where you're thrown into a room and don't really get to know anyone. Sounds like connections are going to be pretty darn important at Badass Online Marketing Live. So that's the networking. But now we got to talk about the transparency piece. And this shocked my conscience when Bobby told me how traditional online entrepreneur events work. He tells me that traditionally the host will say, we will be in session from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. And you say, well, what are we going to speak? What are we going to be talking about at different times? And they'll say, we will be in session from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. And you ask him, well, when are there going to be breaks? He said, we will be in session from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They won't tell you anything. I don't want to tell you something, but I wouldn't go to an event like that personally. And luckily, my evil twin, entrepreneur Bobby, says he's not going to put you through that. First of all, he's going to actually give you a schedule. He'll tell you when breaks are happening, when lunch is happening, when things are actually going to be there, which seems pretty important to me so that you can plan your life around the event. Because let's be honest, we all have things going on at home during the middle of this COVID time. And simply the idea that we can simply say, I will be there from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. seems kind of farcical to me. So it sounds pretty good that you're going to have an actual schedule. But he says it's not just going to be a schedule about the time. You'll actually have an agenda. He's going to tell you what presentations are happening when the guest speakers are talking. He explained this to me. He said that the reason why most entrepreneurs won't do that is because they're going to try to sell you something at some point, and they don't want you to know when that's happening so that you are there when they make the pitch. That seems kind of backwards to me as an attorney. It seems like they might want you to know and be able to make an informed decision as an adult, but apparently not. Bobby wants you to be able to make those decisions. Beyond the agenda, he says there is no bait and pitch. Now, he's not saying there's not going to be a pitch. He's saying he has something that he will be selling to you. He will be open about that. He's going to tell you that right now. He has empowered me as his attorney to waive attorney-client privilege and tell you that he will be making an offer at the event. But he wants you to understand that you'll know, you're not going to be surprised, you're not going to have this sprung on you as if it's something new. But also, he's going to bring immense value the entire time. So you get value no matter whether you buy or not. And last but not least, he said he is keeping one thing secret. He said, although he has a reputation for not liking secrets, he does have one little thing that he's going to pull out of his bag at the event that he thinks might just surprise you, and surprise you in the best way possible. So he won't let me tell you that. I desperately want to, but I am bound by attorney-client privilege, so I'm not allowed to tell you about this huge announcement that he will be making about a big shift that's coming. But he wanted you to understand it will be coming. So that's transparency. So in a nutshell, the event itself will be very different, very much better than any other event you've attended. But now we've got to talk about the other things. We've got to talk about the things that happen outside of the event itself. So one of the things is that Bobby has come up with this idea to run what he is calling No Excuses November. to get you started before December. He says that oftentimes at these events, here's how I understand the facts. You will get thrown maybe into a Facebook group and maybe into something called Telegram. I'm not quite sure what it is. I understand that maybe it's a way for hosts to just blast out messages to you, but I don't get the point of that. But he says that these are often unstructured and don't really provide much value. Bobby, on the other hand, is doing something very different. Bobby is going to run an entire group coaching experience in November to get you prepared for the event. That's right. You heard that here, that you will get a coaching experience in November before the event to get yourself ready. And there's 4 topics that he's going to cover, but he also tells me that his team has some fun things planned. There may be some prizes, there may be some contests, and there's going to be a lot going on in the group. But there are 4 general themes that Bobby will be focusing on. First, define your dream. As I understand it, entrepreneur Bobby uses this term a lot, that he says that he wants to help people build the businesses of their dreams. And it occurred to him that he needs to start by making sure that people who are coming to the event really know what their dream business is. So he's going to spend some time helping you do just that. If you already know, good, he's going to make sure it's right. If you don't know, he's going to help you figure it out. The next topic is to find, what do you believe? He's going to help you understand what's different about you, how you approach things differently, so how you can stand out to become a thought leader in your space. Then from there, he's going to move on to something that he says, find your cowbell. I didn't get this one at first. I had to get some clarification. I said, find your what now? I don't want a cowbell. He explained to me that it's this expression he uses a lot, which is about the concept of helping you find your personality and your voice. He says he's kind of known for this, so I'm guessing he will be pretty good at it. Finally, he says that he's going to teach you how to find your stories. How to find your stories is an important thing because telling stories is one of the best ways to connect with people. He's going to help you to actually figure out what your stories are. He's going to help you to cultivate them, to give you some prompts so that you'll actually be able to start cataloging your stories and be ready to connect with your people. Seem like pretty good topics. And Bobby explains he's going to go live. He's going to do group coaching inside this group. You're going to be able to jump on a Zoom call with him. Again, this whole Zoom thing is new to me as a lawyer. We weren't doing it before COVID, but now I understand it. But he says he's going to do that so he can interact and actually talk with you back and forth and to help you work these things out. So that sounds like a pretty good advantage. And as I understand it, something that's very different between Badass Online Marketing Live and any other event you've been to. So that's the preparation. But now we have to talk about Do It December. Do It December is the implementation that will come after the event. Again, as I understand it from Bobby, most times these events, you go to them, they get you hyped up, they give you a bunch of information, and then it's over. Nothing happens. There is no help after the event. That doesn't quite make sense to me personally. It seems like you might need some help after the event. And so what Bobby explains to me is that he has created this special bonus where people who buy their ticket by today, so you have to buy it in the next 10 or so hours as I'm recording this to get access to this. But people who do will get access to additional coach or group coaching calls in December. So after the event, as you're doing your work, implementing what you learned, you'll get coaching from Bobby. Again, that seems like a heck of a benefit. Something that's very different from the traditional event. Seems like that might be a huge benefit. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my case. Badass Online Marketing Live is a very different experience than any other online event that I've heard of, especially having talked to Entrepreneur Bobby and understanding what normally happens at these events. I'm confident making this case. I'm happy to present it, and I stand behind it 100%. Now, if you'd like to get your ticket to take advantage of this, you can go to bobbyklink.com/bomb live, BOM live, bobbyklink.com/bomb live. Wait, just a second. Just a second. I'll just a second. What has that guy been telling you? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. Was my evil twin the lawyer here? I'm a bit nervous about what he may have said. I'm a bit nervous. I hope he did things well. I'm here to chat with you. So I'm here wanting to know, what do people want to talk to me about the event? What do people want to know? Is there someone who has some questions? Now I'm looking through, I see there's some chats here, and I see that there was at least one question or one comment from a Liz who was saying she really wants to join, but she's trying to figure out how to make it happen. Well, what I'm going to say is, Liz, make it happen. How can I help you make this happen, Liz? Seriously, I'm here. I'm out of character. But what can I do to actually, what is it that's your objection, your problem? Is there anything I can do to help you figure out how to make it happen? Because I would love to have you here. I know your name. You've been in my community for a while. And so I would love to have you at the event, because this really is, joking aside, this kind of is a passion project for me. And it's something that we've been talking about internally, and me really wanting to kind of reset things and help some people and do it in a meaningful way, and actually help people build a real business and kind of do it in a way that makes sense, not in a way that's, kind of fake or anything like that. I want people to figure out a way to build a business and have it last. And that's kind of the thing that I say this in a lot of ways. And I think it's that I come at this from so many different perspectives. I come at it from having grown up with a father who was an entrepreneur running a brick and mortar business, and just seeing how he ran his business. And I come at it from, working in the law firm world. And for a long time, I've talked about this, as a lawyer, in a lot of ways, there was this notion that, marketing is a dirty word, but I was really kind of thinking about it this morning, and I recognized something different. And what I recognized was that in reality, kind of what's happened or what generally happens is there's different strata of lawyers. There are the lawyers who don't market. And that was the world that I lived in. And the reason why I lived in that was because I was at these law firms that had spent all of this time building their reputations. And so they didn't have to market. They didn't have to do anything like that, because it was this thing where they had this reputation. And so it's this way to people come to them. So that was the world I lived in. But then you had all of these other lawyers who were struggling, who were constantly marketing and doing those things. And so what I kind of recognized is that it's one of these places where I think we all need to try to be those white shoe law firms. White shoe meaning these prestigious firms. And what I mean by that is, imagine how nice it would be if you didn't really have to fight, to struggle, to do those things. People came to you because of who you are, because of the reputation you've built. And that's what's happening with me. That's where my legal stuff business happens. And, my lawyer Bobby showed you that chart, but that chart that I've been harping on, that I did this work yesterday morning before my training. And I did it just because as I was doing this, I kind of discovered that I knew this stuff was happening, but I didn't know the quantity of it until I actually ran the numbers yesterday. And I said, holy crap. Seriously, a full 65% of my money on my premier legal product has nothing to do with anything that the online entrepreneurial experts are teaching you. It has to do with the other stuff, the stuff that people are saying don't do. And again, seriously, when you listen to people, they'll say, don't spend money on brand awareness. We're not Coca-Cola. So yeah, we're not Coca-Cola, but I'm still going to spend time and money on brand awareness. The time that I have put into building my reputation in certain communities is paying off in spades. And I joke, I know some of my team is here, but I always joke with them. I literally could fire all of them today, and still be doing pretty good. I mean, I would have to stop marketing. I'd have to stop doing a lot of stuff I do, but just off of like the goodwill I've built over the last 3 years, I'd be doing pretty good. Now, don't worry, team. I'm not going to fire you. I love you guys. I just use it as an example. But I kind of had this recognition that in many ways, everything that I've had in my life has been leading me to this message that I'm trying to present to people now. From learning from my dad, learning as kind of an outside world in the law firm world, and just learning outside of this space has helped me to see these things. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it. And that's why I just want to get this message out. And I see, Liz, that you have this and you've spent so much money. And I get that. And I understand that. I'll just be honest with you. When I was first starting, like, I'll never forget, biting the bullet and buying Marie Forleo's B School. I mean, that $2,000, it was like, and, nowadays, I will just tell you that, like, literally nowadays I'll drop 15 grand, whatever, on a thing. And it's, it is what it is. And I'm not saying I'm flippant about it, but it's because I've done it. But I also want to say this, like, this is where so many of the other kind of people in the space are causing problems, right? Because they want to make it seem like you can build a business without doing it. And the reality is, like, we as online business owners have so many advantages. But I just want to step back and say, if you weren't in the online world, think about what it would cost to start a business. You'd have to take out a lease. You'd have to buy equipment. You'd have to buy inventory. You'd have to buy all those things. Like, no one would think that you could build a traditional business without spending money. And so that's part of the stuff that I'm going to just start talking about to people is, look, you've got to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to put some skin in the game. And again, I get it's scary, and I'm not going to tell you to spend a bunch and invest a bunch of money that you don't have. That I'm not going to tell you to do, but I'm going to say finding a way to do these things is actually really important. And again, Liz, if you can come live, look, I would love for you to get the VIP ticket, but if you can come live, it's just $97. And I would suggest that you could find $97, and that this event, that signing up for it, especially if you do it today, so you get all of November, you get the event, and then you get December as well, will be transformational for you. And I can say, I cannot imagine there is $97 that you could spend in your business in a better way than that. And I can say that without hesitation, without having to think about it. Even the VIP ticket, I don't think there's $297 you could spend that would be a better investment for your business. So, and I get that. And I like that you see, that I'm among your favorites and that you've learned from me. So I'm glad you see that. And I'm going to bring it. I'm not going to do I'm going to hold back and just give you a little bit. So you got to buy stuff. And although I'm not going to talk about what the secret is, the secret will be that I will be revealing at the event will be along those lines where you're going to realize that that's not the way Bobby operates. And I think you already know that, but you'll know it for sure. So address that one. Now Matt asks, can you talk a little bit about what exactly an ascension model is? Yeah. So an ascension model, the basic concept around it is, and it's not a pyramid scheme, but think of it like if you're looking at a pyramid, and you have products and offers at different levels, so different price points. And the concept behind it is, if you only have one product and that's all you've got, people pay in and they're done. There's nothing else they can buy from you. So that's kind of not ideal, because in marketing, one of the things that you want to do is find a way in a genuine, natural way, authentic way of providing value to increase what's called the customer lifetime value. In other words, what is someone worth to you as a customer over the entire cycle of them being a customer? And that is the kind of thing that as you increase that, it actually helps you to kind of do more. First of all, if you know that, let's just use a very simple example. Let's say you have a $200 course, and then you have something on the back end that they can spend $2,000 on if they want to buy that from you for ongoing support, let's say. And let's just use those numbers because they're around 200, 2,000. And let's say that 10% of the people who buy the $200 course end up buying that $2,000 product from you. Again, just for round numbers. What that means is that everybody who buys a course from you isn't worth $200. They're worth $400 because the way the math works out. And where that's important is it makes you realize I can actually pay, even if it costs me $250 to get a customer, it will still be profitable for me. See, and that's the power of it, so that you can see these things and start to say, okay, I can pay more to get people in on the front end, even if it means I don't make money on that initial purchase, because I know that on average, they're going to buy on the back end and I will make my money back. It's kind of like the concept, if you know what a loss leader is, the classic example of loss leaders are like the super crazy deals that like Best Buy and Walmart used to do on Black Friday. I don't know if they're still doing it, where like literally they would sell things at a loss. But the reason they would do it is because it would get so many people in the door and the people would buy all this other stuff that they would make money on. Now, it's kind of the same concept that if you get people into your world, if you have more than one product that kind of helps them along the way, you can make more money. But it's not just about you. It's also that an ascension model is one of the best ways to serve your people. And let me give you a very clear example of this. My coach, James Wedmore, he has Business by Design, which it's not really a course. It's an implementation program. It's got a bunch of stuff in it. But a lot of people say, oh, it's kind of like a course. So let's just say it's a course, but it's not. Then he has what's called Business by Design Next Level, which is a coaching program. I think it's, I don't know the number, 150 people, let's say, or something like that, that are kind of, you know, they have the Business by Design, but they also have coaching from James, a couple people on his team, and then he's got coaches who help them, basically help them implement. So that's a more expensive thing. And then he's got the mastermind, which is what I'm in. And the way for you to understand this is like him doing it at multiple levels allows him to serve people at different interests. Like by the time I entered his world, Business by Design and even Next Level wouldn't have been right for me. See, I needed to be in this smaller room doing the same stuff, but with a different group of people. But the interesting thing is like a lot of people who were in the mastermind with me, they started with him in Business by Design. Then they bought Next Level, and then they moved up to the mastermind. So you can kind of see how it's a flow, and it lets people like get more from you over time and get more value out of the process. That's what an ascension model is, kind of in broad strokes. The concept is that people can ascend to higher level offerings, and the higher level offerings generally will be more access to you over time. That's kind of how it works. And so that's the traditional model of an ascension model. Now there's different ways to do it. And what I want to be clear on is I don't want people to immediately come out of the gate and say, oh, I've got 5 products necessarily. That's not my point. But I also want people to understand that if you have one product and only one product, you're kind of at risk, because literally you have one offer and you can't actually help those people anymore, but you also like you're not meeting the needs of other people in your market. So having the multiple offers can be helpful, especially if it's essentially the same thing, but at different levels of support. So that's a way to think about it. And again, we in my business, on the business side currently, and I think Katie's here, she may know better than me, but I think currently we have 3 offers. We have my email course, or no, 4. We have the email course, we have the Fans First Society membership. We have my small group coaching program, and then we have, I'm doing VIP days. So we have those kind of different things that can help different people who have different needs. Like the VIP days are for people who either some of them literally just need me to come in and do some surgical work, helping them with some messaging or something like that. But other people, it's like, look, I just want you to come in for 2 days and help me get 2 months worth of work done, right? And so we'll do that. It's kind of like that. So that is the hands-on, let's help you stuff. But then I have the membership, which is about helping people like who are not at that level. And the idea is let's get them that level. Let's get them to the point that they're needing the higher level thing. So that's an ascension model. Yeah. Oh, did I not mention the email marketing? I thought I mentioned that, but that's the 4th, I think, right? Or 5th. I don't know what it is, but there you go. And so, Gina said, I don't know what D's fun is, but it says, I've been to a couple of virtual events this year and you hit it right. Either a bunch of sales pitches making me roll my eyes or nothing actionable. Like, why am I even here taking time away from my family and my actual work? that's an opportunity cost right there. I agree with you 100%. Now, again, I honestly haven't gone to that many. I've been to one, and the one I went to actually did provide some value to me, but the reason it provided some value to me is it was something that I had no idea about. Katie and I, my integrator, we went to the virtual event on virtual events. So we kind of learned from to do that. But I want to be clear. That was put on by the people who were putting on these Zoomzilla things and putting on these events with no value. And so Katie and I said, yeah, that's not happening with us. And they didn't really talk about it that way, but we immediately said, yeah, no, that's not happening with us. We're actually going to do this right. But it's also partly me. I'm like, look, I'm going to treat people like adults because I would want to be treated like adults. And it's part of my general belief about how marketing should work. So if you didn't, tune into yesterday's training, I mean, I talk a lot about this and in it. And, what I was saying is most entrepreneurs are stuck in a model of marketing called the selling concept, which is all about selling tricks and gimmicks. And that's it. And the rest of the world left that in the late 50s or started to transition away from it in the late 50s. And the online world's like, when the online world came about, we said, well, let's figure out this really old method and use it. And that's what we're doing. And it makes no sense, but that's what people are teaching. So the events, what's happened is the events is the place where most people are doing it even more. There's so many pitches. They're like not telling you anything so they can spring things on you. And I just don't get it. But yeah, we got a lot of feedback from people who'd gone to different events in my community and got feedback on what was happening, what was driving them nuts. I said, yeah, that's dumb. We're not doing that. So we a couple of things. We're shortening the days. We're not going to spend 12-hour days because I don't know about you, but I don't think a lot of people can spend 12-hour days at home. So we're going to make it more manageable, but also all the other stuff. So, and I'm glad, Gina, that you enjoyed the idea of me putting on a suit and pretending to be a lawyer. So, let me see. I'm kind of going through here, see if I catch any other comments. Okay, I'm not saying that, but so look, that's my pitch for the event. I would love for you to come. I'd love for you to be there with me. If you have any questions, you know how to hit me up. But again, I would say today is the day to buy because that's when you get the implementation calls. So if you have any questions, hit us up. But otherwise, I'll talk to you later, and I hope I'll see you at the event.